Have you ever had that strange feeling that something just wasn't clicking in your relationship? At the beginning, everything seemed perfect. He sent you good morning texts, called you special, made promises, talked about the future. It felt like you had finally found someone different. But then, little by little, the texts slowed down. The dates became less frequent. The intensity faded, and then came that question that wouldn't stop echoing in your head. Was he ever really serious about me? Or was I just something to pass the time? This dilemma is more common than you think. So many women spend months, even years, trying to decode mixed signals. And it's not because they're naive, but because when the heart is attached, it puts on rose-colored glasses. It hides the red flags and magnifies the small moments of affection. That's how so many women end up stuck in relationships that were never meant to go anywhere. But here's the good news. The signs are always there. Human behavior doesn't lie. What's often missing is the ability to see it clearly. Today, I'm going to break this down for you, not just as someone who studies human behavior, but as a friend who's seen this story unfold too many times. I'll show you the unmistakable signs that separate a man who's genuinely looking for commitment from a man who's just taking up space in your life. And I promise, by the end of this video, you'll have powerful tools to stop wasting years on empty promises, and start recognizing the kind of love that's real. A man who wants something serious shows it early on. He might not come right out and say, "I want to marry you," but his words reveal it in subtle ways. He talks about trips he'd love to take with you. He mentions how nice it would be to share everyday moments. He even jokes about how the two of you would handle the future together. Why? Because in his subconscious, you're already part of his tomorrow. A man who isn't serious does the opposite. He avoids any conversation about the future. If you bring up something meaningful, he changes the subject. If you share your dreams, he laughs it off. His go-to phrases sound like this: "Let's just see where this goes. No need to rush, we're fine the way we are." He keeps everything on the surface because going deeper means taking responsibility. Neuroscience explains this perfectly. When we talk about plans, our brains release dopamine, the chemical tied to motivation and pleasure. A man who sees you in his future feels good talking about it. The one who doesn't sees it as pressure. Real life example. You say, "I've always dreamed of visiting Paris." The man who's serious lights up. Can you imagine us standing together under the Eiffel Tower? That would be amazing. The one who's not shrugs, "Yeah, Paris is cool, but who knows, let's not plan that now." Ask yourself, when the two of you talk, does it feel like he's building a bridge to tomorrow with you, or just throwing up walls to keep you stuck in today? Time is the most valuable thing we have, and a man who's serious about you makes time, no matter how busy he is. Even on the craziest days, he'll find a way to check in, send a quick text, ask how your mom is doing, or squeeze in a short call just to hear your voice. He doesn't just show up when it's convenient, he rearranges things to include you, because you're part of what matters to him. A man who's only passing time, though, is full of excuses. "I'm too busy, I didn't have time, work's been crazy." Yet somehow, he's never too busy for his buddies, his workouts, or his favorite shows. He's only too busy when it comes to you. Psychologists call this emotional investment. The more time and energy we give someone, the more valuable they become to us. Think of it like watering a plant. The man who's serious waters it every day, helping it grow. The one who isn't, he throws on a drop here and there, just enough to keep it from dying, but never enough to thrive. Picture this. You have a huge work presentation coming up. The man who's serious remembers the date, encourages you beforehand, checks in afterward, and celebrates with you. The one who's just passing time doesn't even realize it happened, because in his world, your life outside of him doesn't matter. Ask yourself, when you need support, is he there, or does he only show up when it benefits him? Words can be beautiful, but actions will always tell the truth. A man who's serious about you doesn't just say the right things, he follows through. If he says he'll call, he calls. If he makes plans for Saturday, he shows up. If he promises to respect your boundaries, you'll see that respect in the way he treats you. He doesn't need to drown you in sweet talk every day, because his consistency speaks louder than any words could. The man who's only passing time. He's a master of empty promises. His words sound like music, but they're just smoke. He'll say he misses you, but never makes the effort to see you. He'll promise to change, but nothing actually changes. His charm is in what he says, not in what he does. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, that uneasy feeling you get when someone's words and actions don't line up. That knot in your stomach isn't paranoia, it's your brain picking up on the mismatch. Imagine this. He says, "I can't wait to see you, you mean so much to me," but cancels at the last minute to hang with his friends. Another guy says, "I'm exhausted, but I'd still love to see you. Let's order takeout and relax." And he actually shows up. See the difference? Both talked about wanting to be with you. Only one proved it. Think of it like this. Words are like balloons, pretty, colorful, attention-grabbing, but they pop and disappear in seconds. Actions are like bricks, heavy, real, and lasting. Balloons look fun, but you can't build a house out of them. Bricks, though, they create something solid, so ask yourself, is he giving you bricks to build something real, or just balloons that float away the moment you need stability? Few things are more exhausting than being with someone and never knowing where you stand. That constant uncertainty, that feeling of being in limbo without clarity, is what I call the gray zone. A man who's serious about you might take his time in the beginning, but even then, he won't leave you guessing. He'll say things like, "I'm not sure what to call this yet, but I know I want you in my life," or, "Let's see how this develops, but I'm committed to giving this a real shot." Even in the unknown, he offers reassurance. The man who's just passing time. He thrives in the gray zone. He'll say, "Why put a label on it?" or, "We're having fun, don't complicate things." He hides behind vagueness, making it sound like freedom, when in reality it's avoidance. Here's the hard truth. When a man avoids defining what you are, it's usually because he already knows you'll never be more than what you are right now. He just won't admit it, because once you realize that, you might walk away. Psychologists call this relationship avoidance, keeping the connection alive just enough to enjoy the benefits, but never enough to make it real. It's like walking in a dimly lit hallway. You can move forward, but you never really see where you're going. Imagine this. You ask, "So, what are we?" The serious man says, "I don't know the exact label yet, but I know I want you." The time waster says, "Why do we need labels? Let's just go with the flow." See the difference? One offers clarity, even in uncertainty. The other keeps you in fog, on purpose. And here's the danger. The gray zone is one of the biggest thieves of a woman's time. So many wait months, even years, for a man to be ready, to grow up, to figure out what he wants. But the truth is, he knew from day one. He just wanted the perks of your presence without the responsibility. Ask yourself, are you walking in a relationship with light and direction, or stuck in a hallway of smoke, never sure where you're headed? This one's simple to spot, but often the hardest to accept. Because when you care about someone, you naturally want to believe their excuses. But here's the truth. When you're a priority, you don't have to fight for space. When you're just an option, you're always chasing it. A man who's serious about you will make room for you in his life. He could be tired, busy, or overwhelmed, but he'll still find a way to check in, to see you, to make you feel included. You're not an afterthought, you're woven into his plans. The man who's just passing time. You only see him when nothing else is going on. You're his filler for empty hours. If his friends call, you get rescheduled. If something more fun comes up, you're pushed aside. You're never the plan, you're the backup. And here's the hard reality. No one is ever too busy for someone they truly value. We all have the same 24 hours. The difference is how we choose to spend them, and with whom. Psychologists explain this through emotional priority. When someone really matters to us, our brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, every time we connect. That's why a man who's in love will stay up late just to talk with you, while the one who isn't won't even respond to a quick text. Picture this. You call and say, "I had the worst day, I just need to hear your voice." The serious man says, "Give me a second, I'll step outside and call you back." And he does. The other says, can't right now, maybe later. And that, later, never comes. See the difference? One makes space. The other shuts the door. Ask yourself, in his world, are you the priority, or just a convenient option when nothing better is happening? Every real relationship is built on one thing: trust. Without it, there's no safety. And without safety, love turns into anxiety. A man who's serious about you builds trust through transparency. He doesn't dump his whole life story on you at once, but little by little, he lets you in. He tells you about his past, shares his routines, introduces you to his friends, shows you his world. He's not afraid to let you see who he really is, because he knows that intimacy requires openness. The man who's just passing time, he hides. His phone is always face down. He gives vague answers. I'll tell you later, or that doesn't matter right now. He disappears without explanation, avoids details, keeps you guessing. It's not privacy, it's secrecy. Psychologists connect this behavior to an avoidant attachment style. Some men avoid intimacy because they feel threatened by closeness. But here's the difference. The man who's serious, even if he struggles, makes an effort to open up. The man who's not, he hides because he never intended to build anything real. Neuroscience explains why this matters. Transparency sparks the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone that deepens trust. Secrecy, on the other hand, spikes cortisol, the stress hormone. That's why you feel that knot in your stomach, that sense that something isn't right, even when you can't put it into words. Imagine this. You ask, "What did you do last night?" The serious man answers easily, "I was home watching a movie." "Honestly, I almost called you to come over." The other hesitates, looks away, and says, "Nothing really, just out." See the difference? One gives you peace. The other creates doubt. Ask yourself, does he open windows for you to see his life clearly, or does he keep every door locked, leaving you in the dark? Real love doesn't hold you back, it helps you grow. When you're with the right man, you don't just feel loved, you feel expanded. A healthy relationship is like sunlight for a plant. It nourishes, protects, and gives you the space to bloom. But when you're with a man who's only passing time, the opposite happens. You shrink, you dim your own light, you feel like you're stuck in a dark corner, struggling to breathe. A man who's serious about you isn't intimidated by your growth. He encourages it. He celebrates your achievements, supports your goals, and is proud when you succeed. He doesn't fear your shine, he's inspired by it. He knows that when you grow, the relationship grows too. The man who's just wasting time, he'd rather you stay small. Because if you grow too much, you might realize he was never enough to stand beside you. He may make snide remarks about your dreams, dismiss your accomplishments, or even act jealous of your success. Not because you're wrong, but because your progress exposes his lack of it. Psychologists call this mutual support. Research shows that couples who cheer each other on are more likely to have strong, lasting, fulfilling relationships. But when one partner tries to hold the other back, what grows isn't love, it's resentment. Picture this. You tell him you got a promotion. The serious man beams with pride. "I knew you could do it." "Let's celebrate, you deserve it." The time waster sighs. "Great, now you'll have even less time for me." Don't let it go to your head. One lifts you up, the other pulls you down. From a neuroscience perspective, encouragement triggers dopamine and serotonin. The brain's feel-good chemicals that fuel motivation and joy. But when your victories are met with criticism, your brain floods with cortisol, the stress hormone. That's why, with the wrong man, you start to doubt yourself, even when you know you're capable. Ask yourself, around him, do you feel like you're blooming into your best self, or slowly withering just to keep him comfortable? If there's one final test that reveals everything, it's this: consistency. A man who's serious about you doesn't vanish without explanation. He doesn't flood you with attention one week and then go cold the next. He creates rhythm. He shows up, time after time, in ways that make you feel safe. Of course, he's human, he'll have good days and bad days. But even then, you know where you stand with him. His presence is steady, not conditional. The man who's only passing time. He lives in extremes. One week he's texting non-stop, making plans, acting like you're the center of his world. The next, he disappears, ignores messages, leaves you questioning what went wrong. That push and pull keeps you hooked, because you're always hoping. Maybe tomorrow he'll go back to how he was before. But that cycle isn't passion, it's manipulation. Neuroscience calls this intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. When affection comes unpredictably, your brain releases dopamine in spikes, leaving you craving more. You start chasing crumbs of attention, even when they're never enough. Imagine this. The serious man sends you a short but steady text every night. "Good night, thinking of you." You sleep peacefully. The other bombards you with affection for a week, then goes silent for days. You lie awake, anxious, waiting. See the contrast? One brings peace. The other breeds chaos. Psychologists agree. Consistency is tied to emotional maturity. A man who knows what he wants doesn't need to play games. His love shows up in steady, everyday gestures. The one who doesn't, he thrives on the highs and lows, keeping you hooked on uncertainty. Ask yourself this. With him, do you feel calm and secure, or stuck on a roller coaster of doubt? Because real love isn't a ride, it's a road. And the right man walks it with you, step by step.